Hello there, this is Michael Robertson again. I am making a video today to walk you through the process of making a mid-semester student feedback survey. My goal is to make this concise but also very informative and practical, and we're going to go through three parts together. First is the importance of gathering student feedback, particularly in an online class. To talk about that, I want to briefly reference something that I know many of you are already familiar with, the Teach Online Seminar or TOS 3.0. If you remember in Module A in the TOS, specifically Unit A3, we did talk about the best practice of administering a mid-semester survey or a mid-semester evaluation. This is an article from Penn State that briefly talks about these things. For example, how many questions? Too long, it might be too daunting for the students. What kinds of questions we might want to ask. They give the example of the 1 through 5 Likert scale right here. And indeed, if you press forward to the deliverable that you submitted in this part of the TOS, that was part of that assignment where you develop one of these mid-semester feedback tools and you submitted it. So you might already have one of these ready to go. So what I want to walk you through is how to make this happen in the most practical way possible. In order to do that, we're going to create feedback surveys two different ways. First, in a Canvas quiz, and secondly, in Office 365, which can be used in Confer Zoom and or Canvas too. Okay, so let's get on with it. What we're going to do is go over to a class that we wish to create the mid-semester feedback survey in. And for my purposes today of demonstration, I'm just doing this in an empty class. So to do that, I have an empty module, but I'm going to go over to quizzes in my navigation. And I'm going to create a brand new quiz. And I'm going to give this a meaningful title. I'm going to do something like mid-semester student feedback. And then in the text box, I'm going to make sure and give this a really meaningful description that explains to students what this is, how many questions there are, how their feedback will be utilized, the fact that it's going to be anonymous, so on and so forth. Again, for demonstration, I'm just going to put detailed description here. And of course, in full knowledge that we would add quite a bit more to this, maybe some bullet points or a paragraph or so describing what this is for. As I scroll on down, we're going to modify some of these settings to make it different from an ordinary quiz. First of all, in the quiz type, I'm going to select Ungraded Survey. And then I'm not going to worry so much about shuffling answers or a time limit, but I am going to click this box to keep the submissions anonymous, right? I think that's important, might help folks open up a little bit more honestly if they know that their responses are not tied to their name. And then allow multiple attempts. I do this commonly just in case somebody, makes a mistake. They can always go back and do it again. So I'm just going to give them 2 tries. If they want to go back and make a second submission, that's fine by me. I'm not going to worry too much about when students see their quiz responses. Again, this is not a graded quiz, so it doesn't really matter. But then I am going to make sure to put a due date. So I'm going to give my students, we'll just say until October 25th to get this done. Now we're not finished yet, but I'm going to go ahead and click Save just to make sure we don't lose any of these settings that we put in place. All right, so I'm going to click Edit again. All of the details are in order the way we need. So I'm going to tab over to the Questions section, and there are no questions yet. So I'm going to create a new question. Like we saw in the TOS examples, I'm going to show you how to make a very simple 1 to 5 Likert scale style survey. And again, for demonstration, this is going to be rather short, but I encourage you to ask, a good handful of questions that are most meaningful in your class. So here's what we do. For this drop-down menu, I'm going to select multiple drop-downs. And then in the text box, we're actually going to do something pretty cool. We're going to create a table. And on one side of the table is the question. And on the other side of the table will be the drop-down menu that students would choose. Agree, disagree, neutral, etc. So we're going to click this table icon. And we're going to start off with just 3 questions for a sample. So I'm going to make the table 2 cells wide and 3 cells tall. Okay, here we go. So on the left-hand column, I'm going to type in the questions that I want students to see. So for example, just off the top of my head, let's see, the Canvas portion of this class is organized and clear. Great. And then I'm going to skip on down to the next question. And I'll say the weekly Confer Zoom meetings help me learn class material. And then I'm going to skip down one more time and just be very, very general. We could say something to the effect of, my instructor is here to help me, and I feel comfortable asking questions. Okay? And again, in full knowledge that we would ask more than this, potentially a few more, or something more specific to your class. But moving over to the right-hand column of this table, here is where we have to get a little bit technical, but don't you worry, it's quite simple for our purposes today. We need to put in a placeholder that will contain that 1 to 5 scale of answers. To do that, here's what it looks like. We start with a bracket symbol. Okay, a bracket symbol. And then we're going to just do a 1-word summary of what the question is asking. So for this first question, I'm just going to put bracket, canvas, end bracket. I'm going to move down to the next section. Same thing, bracket, Zoom, end bracket. And then the third section would be bracket, instructor, end bracket. Okay, now look what Canvas has done if we scroll down. Look at this. For the answers section here, I'll make that a little bigger. You have show possible answers for Canvas, Zoom, or instructor. And those are the 3 bracketed items that we just created up here in that table. So let's say I'm going to start with show possible answers for Canvas. And because this is a 1 to 5 Likert scale, I'm going to make sure to click add another answer. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possibilities. For the first possible answer, I'm going to do strongly agree. Then I'll go down to agree. And then neutral. Then disagree. And lastly, strongly disagree. Nice. So that first question is done. But then we're going to go back up to show possible answers for, select the next criteria. So show possible answers for Zoom. Same exact process. We're going to add 5 answers total. We're going to go through with strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. Excellent. And then last but not least, just to show you for one final time, for the final question, instructor, we add 5 possibilities, and here we go. Oops, strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. Nice. Okay, so once we're done, once we have a clear set of drop-down items for each of the questions we were asking, I'm going to click Update Question. And this is what it looks like on our end. But if we save, let's preview this quiz and see what it looks like from the student side. So if students are taking this feedback tool, here's what they're going to see. So they will see the question on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, look, a drop-down menu where they would select one of the 5 options you provide. So let's say they strongly agree, and for Confer Zoom meetings, help me learn, I'll say agree, and instructor is here to help me, I certainly hope so. Right, so this is what it would look like from the student side. And that could be very, very informative depending on the questions that you ask of them. So here's what I'm going to do. To make this simple and pragmatic for you, I believe that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So I'm going to create a template just like what you see here. And I'm going to provide it to you that you can import into any or all of your classes if you so choose. And you can be free to modify the questions within this Likert scale. In order to do that, we're going to utilize the Canvas Commons. So over here on the left-hand side, we click on the Commons link. And here there's actually a wealth of information available to us that other instructors, members of the OLET team have created to share. But if you just go ahead and search for my name, Robertson, you'll see some of the items that I have provided in the Commons here. And when you find the quiz that I've created, and let's say that you want to put this into your course, you click on the quiz, you click Import Download, and look, you just select whatever courses you want this to go into, and Canvas will do the work for you, right? So just as an example, if you've never done this before, I'm going to select to import this into one of my anthropology classes. You click Import to Course. Canvas is working on it, so let's check. I'm going to find that course. All right, now look. So within a module in the course, we will click the Add button to add an item, and I will select Quiz, and I will import the unnamed quiz that we just created. There we go. Simple. And your students will be ready to take it as soon as you publish the module and publish the item itself, of course. All right, excellent. The second thing I wanted to share with you today is if you prefer to create a Likert scale survey in Office 365, maybe that suits your style a little better, or maybe this is something that you wish to administer during a Confer Zoom meeting. So let me show you how that looks in Office 365. Back to the Viking portal. Every single one of us has access to Office 365, but you may not have used it before, that's okay. When we click on Office 365, we are taken into our account, and we have lots and lots of things to look at here, but we're going to focus on these, 9 squares in the top left-hand corner. When you click on those squares, again, you have a lot of options, but we're going to look at forms. Here is where we can create another version of that Likert scale survey. So I'm going to create a new form, and you can do this too. So again, I'm going to give this some sort of meaningful title. I'm going to put Student Feedback Survey. For description, again, like I mentioned in Canvas, we want to give this a detailed description, informing students that their voice matters, we value their input and constructive criticism, etc., etc. Okay, so we want to put more in this description too. For the quiz settings, we're going to come up to the right-hand side and see these 3 dots. One setting in particular is important. When we click on settings, we want to make sure that anyone with the link can respond. So I'm going to tick that box. Okay, so that way when we send out this survey to our students, any one of them can respond to it. Okay, so that's the important setting for us right now. So now it's time to make the questions. And again, for demonstration, I'm just going to do a couple. We click Add New Questions. And if we want to do a Likert scale, we're going to select Choice. And then we're going to write up our questions. And for this, I'm just going to go back to what I was thinking for the previous survey. The Canvas content in this class is organized. And then on that 1 through 5 scale, we're going to make sure that we include those 5 different degrees of agreement or disagreement. And watch, Office 365 is pretty smart about this. So if I type in strongly agree, okay, look, 365 kind of knows what I'm trying to ask here, and it preloads the alternative for answers here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on those: agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Nice. And then you know what? I'm going to add an other option. Okay, so if none of these answers really summarize what the student respondent wants to say, they can select other and type in a few words to describe their idea more accurately. Nice. So just for demonstration's sake, again, we do a new question. And I'm going to say, confer Zoom meetings help me learn the class material. And yet again, we do strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree, and I'll add other. Nice. Piece of cake. So here's the thing. When your survey is done and you want to administer it to your students, there are a couple of very simple ways to get that taken care of. This nice big share button here. Now look at this. There is just a very simple hyperlink right here that we can copy, and we can paste that in an email to our students, to a Canvas announcements, or let's say you're teaching in Confer Zoom. Maybe you want to take the last 10 minutes of class one day and say, hey class, we're doing a survey today. I want your feedback on this course so far. You can just take this link and you can copy it and paste it right into the Confer Zoom chat box. Students will click it and be taken right to this survey and take care of it all in one go. So that's a wonderful possibility. A second possibility is actually to embed this very nicely into a Canvas page or a Canvas assignment. So let me show you how I would do that. In my module, I'm going to create a page, just a blank, empty page for student feedback. And I'm going to add that item. I'm going to click on that item and edit. So here we have our big empty text box, but that is where the survey is going to go. So back to Microsoft Forms, this icon right here, if we click on that and it says Embed, we have a different version of this code that we will copy, take it back over to Canvas, and we click the Embed option, Embed Media here, and then we paste that long section of code. We click OK, and look, now our survey is embedded very nicely into this Canvas page. If we save and publish that, students will be able to click on that page and answer the quiz right within Canvas without having to navigate out. So that might be something that you want to toss into a page, an assignment, or you can even embed it into an announcement in the same exact way using that embed code if you want to. Okay, awesome. So those are the two ways to do it. We went over the Canvas quiz option for the Likert scale and the Office 365 option for the Likert scale. And lastly, I want to just briefly reiterate, what do we do with the student feedback? In short, we apply it. We apply it to meaningful revisions and changes within our class. And one way to do that is to share the results of this feedback with the students themselves. So in Canvas, on the quiz itself, in the teacher role, you're able to click on the quiz, and after students take it, you can look at the speed grader, or you can also just see the quiz statistics, which will appear after your class has taken it. In Office 365, I'll actually show you on a survey I'm currently administering to one of my classes. Okay, so they have another few days. They have, let's see, 10 folks have responded. So you will be able to see the responses here by clicking on this second tab. And look, you get to see what students are selecting in the Likert scale and so on. And even if you do something open-ended, which I strongly encourage, an open-ended qualitative question, when you click on more details, I ask, additional feedback. We can read what students are writing in that. So we can share this to them anonymously, of course, and we can talk about how we can improve things for the last 8 weeks or so of the semester. After all, that is the point of these mid-semester evaluations, to make meaningful improvements in all of our classes. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I apologize, this took a little bit, but I do thank you for your time. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me at mrobertson@lbcc.edu, and I wish you all the best.